bad crash here at Talladega. Just a very, very bad crash. Mark Martin is involved. So is Rusty Wallace, Brett Bodine, Elton Sawyer. One car overturned in the banking of turn number 1, got up into the catch fence and came back onto the racetrack. I don't know who it was at the moment, but this is a very, very ugly looking crash.
Boy, it just, once it went into that turn, once it started, Bob, there's Ricky Rudd. He was involved. You see a lot of damage to his cars. The cars were running so close together. And once this thing started, I mean, it was just everybody getting involved. Derek Cope, as you say, he was involved. He's trying to get his car back around.
Here it is again. Take a look. It's going to happen up front with Jeff Gordon and Mark Martin running side by side.
Okay, Martin goes a little high there. Gordon gets into him. They both have to back off, and then the jamming up starts. And they get into the wall on the outside. Others start jockeying around. There's Derek Cope. He thought he got through that for just a moment, but Mark Martin's going to come right back up in front of him. And is that Ricky Craven?
Yes, it is.
Ricky Craven in car number 41 that's flipping over, went up against the outside wheel fence, back down on the track, and was hit again.
Yeah, he got hit again as the car was rolling toward the apron of the racetrack. So Ricky Craven is certainly one that we have a great deal of concern about. Jeff Gordon is okay. He's climbed out of his car, although it's damaged very badly. But boy, Ricky Craven really took a horrible, horrible ride. Very reminiscent of Phil Parsons' crash a few years ago.
Yes, it was. Okay, here they are. Gordon trying to go on the outside of Mark Martin. They make a little contact, and it sort of shoots Martin out into the wall. Then Gordon comes up, gets tagged, and spins around. And Ricky Craven right in the middle of it, his car gets airborne. You can see it flipping up to the outside wall, just coming apart, and then is hit down on the inside by Elton Sawyer, it looks like, the car number 27.
Ricky Craven may be out of the car. We'll confirm that in a moment. Here it is from Mark Martin's car.
Okay, Mark just riding along, everything looking great as Terry Labonte goes by on the outside, and Mark starts to move up here, not realizing that Jeff Gordon is coming up on the outside of him. And then he gets into the wall, slams down into the inside, and boy, it breaks loose.
He made pretty heavy contact with Ward Burton. Let's look at it again.
See just how fast it happens.
Man.
Tony Irvin was involved.
And within a matter of 5 or 6 seconds, the whole thing can unfold. There they're removing some of the debris and throwing it over the crash wall. You can see the retaining fence there is rather damaged. That's where Ricky Craven flew up into it. It did its job, however, and threw the car right back onto the racetrack. Now there is Rusty Wallace's car, and his day apparently has come to an end, and a very big disappointment for him, as of course is the case with all these drivers. But Mark Martin had come from the back of the field to challenge for the lead. There's Ricky Rudd's badly damaged Tide Ford. The 22 car of Ward Burton took a heck of a shot from Mark Martin as Mark lost control and slid across in front of the field. The 44 car of Jeff Purvis, who had stayed on the lead lap all day. And there is the QVC Ford of Jeff Bodine that they're trying to salvage and get back into the race. We anticipate a red flag because there may be some damage up in turn number 1 that has to be fixed before we can go back to full speed racing. We'll be back in just a moment. As you can see, the red flag has been displayed. The cars have come to a stop at the top of the banking here in the Tri-Oval. The reason? A multi-car and very, very bad looking crash in turn number 1. John Kernan is with Rusty Wallace.
And Rusty, what a wild ride out there for a lot of people, but fortunately you're okay, but your car is not. Did you see it happen before you? Did it just happen so fast you couldn't tell what was going on?
It just happened real fast, and it was just three wide racing going on in turn 1. It's just unfortunate. I mean, we're doing it out there, but it's not really the right way to do it. It's unfortunate. Man, my car was flying today. It run good. We led for a while. I got back in the back. We were making some chassis adjustments, and the car was good. Best one I ever had, but it's too bad it happened. But I don't think I've ever seen that many cars tore up down in turn 1 or 2. It's a bad deal. But cars getting clipped on the inside, clipped on the outside. Pretty aggressive drivers out there.
That happens when you have a bunch of packs like this and everybody pretty much equal, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, this particular type of racing, it's inevitable. I've been in a bunch of crashes, and I thought today was one I could get out of. I think like every single race I've been in, there's always something that goes on, but same thing. We all are going for that same coveted spot or trying to go for that little hole, and when you go 3 wide into turn 1, a lot of times it doesn't work.
Well, that's Rusty Wallace. He is okay, but his car is damaged quite severely, but his crew is working on it, and they may try and get him back out there just to run some laps for points.
Well, we have an even more dramatic angle of this crash, Ned, and you can see Craven's car overturn there and fly up and then down the banking with several cars underneath as the car overturned in the air and came to the rest of the bank.
5 cars went underneath him as when he hit that outside wheel fence on top of the cement wall, and it threw it back across the racetrack, crossed over 5 cars.
Now from Brett Bodine's in-car camera.
Just listen.
What can you tell about it? Right in the middle of turns 1 and 2, and I'll keep you posted. Keep my glasses up.
And now from Mark Martin's roof cam.
Okay, this is where it really started. It's going to happen beside of him as he moves up the racetrack here. He'll touch Jeff Gordon. Where you see Terry Labonte goes by. And then now they're coming in to turn 1. There's where he touches Jeff Gordon, John Andretti down on the inside, and then it breaks loose everywhere. The lights went out, Ken.
Now the real time on this angle. Watch this. You're right, Ned. 5 cars passed underneath Ricky Craven when he was in the air, and Jerry is with Ricky Rudd.
Well, Ricky obviously involved in this incident. His car on pit road, and because of the red flag, the crew, Danny Marshford and crew, can't work on the car. Ricky, first of all, what happened from your vantage point out there?
Well, Jerry, it looked like the 6 and the 24. I couldn't tell exactly. It looked like the 24 tried to put it in a hole that maybe wasn't there. Turned the 6 sideways. He could have turned them loose, and he decided to leave his bumper in there and wrecked all of us.
What was your involvement, Ricky, as far as where did you get primarily most of your damage in the front end?
Well, Jerry, it just kind of beat it up all around and knocked the front end out of alignment. And like I said, once they started bouncing around, we were just kind of mixed up in the middle of it. And it filled my windshield full of oil, so I couldn't really tell you what happened after that. Just kind of went along for the ride.
Well, they are going to try to fix the car. You see the right front of this tide rod heavily damaged. The bars that support the front bumper have been pulled away. It's obviously towed out. Most of the right front fender and right front bumper are sheared away. Also damaged. We get Corky to move around to the back of the car. We can show that the left rear of the car, he did get hit from behind. Down here where it says Downey, that's been shortened by about 2 or 3 feet. And you see some of the other parts of the car have also been shortened just for a little bit here. And Gordon's car has been shortened quite a bit. I mean, they just came by here a moment ago. Jeff Gordon's car was shortened, as was the Jeff Purvis car. And Bill Weber, you're up there. The Gordon car looks pretty well used up.
Yeah, this probably isn't even show car material here. Badly banged in on the right-hand side. The rear bashed in. The front end is cut up pretty bad. I'm standing next to Ray Evernham. I don't believe he wants to talk. We haven't seen. This car is pretty much done for, Ray.
Yeah. We're trying to get it out and run a few laps if we can, but it's obviously it's at a competition.
Was Jeff able to say what happened?
No, you could pretty much see what happened on TV, though.
Okay, he's going to go ahead and work on his car. Jerry?
What we didn't see a moment ago, and what Ricky Rudd fortunately probably couldn't see because oil in his windshield. Take a look at the roof. A car went over Ricky Rudd's car in the air, and you see where this car came across. There's tire marks, fender marks, depressed the rear glass, almost took part of the flap off. and some race car in the air bounced off the right side roof panel of the tied Ford. So another close call for Ricky Rudd, a heavily damaged car. Let's go with Dr. John Kernan standing by with the defending champion.
Well, Jeff Gordon has been checked out in the infield care center. And Jeff, first of all, you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. It's a shame that happened out there. It's just it gets real tight out there, and you can blame anybody or everybody or nobody. It was one of those deals where I was going for a hole, everybody was going for a hole, and it got real tight by the wall, and I don't think anybody could have done really much else. It's real unfortunate. I never hate to get into Mark, if anybody. Mark, and I got together and we just started wrecking, but he didn't have any room on the inside of him, so it's just kind of a squeeze play.
What goes through your mind when that happens and you know what the result's going to be?
It's one of the scariest feelings that you can ever imagine. You're sitting in there sliding along at about 180, 190 miles per hour, and you're just holding tight. And every time I open my eyes, I got hit. So I closed my eyes when and then I'd be sliding along there, and you think it's going to stop. About that time, boom, somebody else will hit you. And it was the first time I'd been in a wreck quite like that, and it wasn't fun.
Well, it wasn't a lot of fun, but fortunately Jeff is okay. Now let's go to Bill Weber, who's standing by with another driver who was involved in it.
Okay, Elton Sawyer's here, and we're just talking about it. Elton, how did you see it?
Well, I don't know, it must have been 30 cars there bunched up, and the first thing I saw was a 24 car sideways, and the spotter said go low, so we went low and thought we had it missed, and I don't know, I think Mark was the one that came off the wall. Just it was unfortunate. It's a pretty fast racetrack, obviously, and we just got to use our head a little bit more. Hopefully everybody's okay. I think the 41 car may have got up and flipped a couple times. Hopefully Ricky's okay.
Okay, that's Elton Sawyer. He's already changed. He's done. John is with Mark Martin.
Get your turn. Mark Martin being interviewed by all the media here. And Mark, what a wild ride. What happened there?
We all just ran out of room out there. These cautions are a nightmare. You get all these cars in a pack and everybody's brave and they're going to, jump up out there in front and try to hold that position. After 20, 30 laps, everybody's handling starts settling out and the best guys work their way up to the front, but that was just a mess out there. It always is after a caution and on a restart. And there's not any use in placing any blame. We just ran out of room out there for what we were trying to do.
I saw you walking out of the care center. You were limping a little bit. How's your foot?
It's fine. I just got a little bit of a bruise, and it's probably more of a it hurts more now than it will later. I just hit it on something.
All right, well, that must Mark Martin. His right foot's just a little bit sore, but other than that, he's okay. Let's go to Bill Weber's with Ernie Irvin.
And first, let's establish, Ernie, that you're okay.
Yeah, I'm all right. It's a shame. We had a great run, and we get back into racing with people we shouldn't be racing with. It's all a result of what happened after qualifying when they blew our motor up.
How did you see it start?
Well, I didn't really get to see it start. The only thing I saw was Mark Martin get spun, and whatever happened, I'm not sure before that. I just saw Mark go across the track, and then I was behind the 10 car, and I was on the brakes, and I run in the back of the 10 car. Not real bad. I think he's still going, so not too bad though.
Now, when you say it's a result of your motor being damaged after qualifying, you want to explain that for the fans that weren't with us on Friday?
Well, I need to. We were just down on power the whole time. The guys have done a tremendous job trying to get back what we had, but we had an awesome motor. And, we got to messing with people we shouldn't have been messing with. And, you just get back there like that. What happened is they dynoed our motor, and, they don't even have a dyno figure, but they tried to dyno it, and it broke the motor.
Okay, that's Ernie Irvin. It was a great return here, but he's done for today.
A lot of top contenders have been taken out in this crash, or at least involved in it. We're going to show you a graphic here listing those that were involved in one way or another in the wreck, and some of those there were certainly potential winners, Ned.
They certainly were. Many of them had led the race. Rusty Wallace and Ernie Irvin, Mark Martin had all led the race. Ricky Rudd had run good all day long. Just a shame. that this many cars have been affected here.
We're still trying to find out the condition of Ricky Craven, whose car took the wildest ride down in turn number 1. When we get any information, we'll pass it along to you as soon as we can. ESPN's coverage of the Winston Select 500 from Talladega Superspeedway being brought to you by AC Delco Automotive Parts. AC Delco, it's like buying time. And by Chevrolet. One car company has won more races in the history of NASCAR. Genuine Chevrolet. We are under a red flag here at Talladega because of an accident down in turn number 1. Ricky Craven's car flew up into that catch fence. They're going to have to repair it before we can go back to green. John Kernan has an update on his condition.
Well, I just talked to Ricky's crew chief, Charlie Presley, and Charlie tells me that Ricky is okay. He's alert. He's speaking, but he's got a big old raspberry on his arm is what Charlie is telling me. So that's some good news. He says he is shaken up, but they're not sure the extent of the injuries. But once again, Charlie Presley, Ricky's crew chief, telling me that Ricky is okay. He's alert, and he is talking. And other than that, we have no further reports on his condition, Bob.
I'll take a raspberry on his arm right now, Ned.
Yes, sir. For what he went through, that's good news to hear. That there's the car. Boy, you're right, Bob. That looks very much like the car that Phil Parsons wrecked here back in 1983 down in turn 1. Not much left of it. And in fact, it's over here in the Talladega Hall of Fame here at the International Motorsports Hall of Fame.
Here it is once again. At the top of the line are Martin and Gordon, and that's where the trouble began.
Looked like maybe Mark Martin tried to come down, but John Andretti was there, and Gordon was trying to go by on the outside, and boy, it just opened the door to
Looks
melee.
like Craven's car was launched over Mark Martin when he was hit by Hut Strickland, and when the car did get launched, it overturned a couple of times, went into the debris fence, and then down on the racetrack quite hard on the top, and then it came to rest at the bottom of the racetrack. Jerry is with a driver who is having a great run, Michael Waltrip.
And Bob, before we talk about that, when you brought the Craven car by a moment ago, the drivers who were out of their cars here under the red flag, including Michael, everyone sort of took a gasp when they saw the car come by. But Michael, it is good news that a raspberry and otherwise that at this point in time, Craven is awake and alert.
That's great news, and just hats off to NASCAR for making us build these cars and the teams for building them so safely. The thing I noticed about the car when I went by, the driver's compartment was still intact. And when I looked at that, I said, well, I hope, that's before I heard the news, I said, I think Ricky might be okay. And sure enough, he was.
That conjure up memories of Bristol a few years ago for you?
Yeah, a little bit, I guess. I thought about it. I was looking at it to see if he had a worse wreck than me, but it looked like it might still be, I still might own the honor of the worst ever crash. A car sitting in a museum right behind the racetrack here. But, that was a bad day, but this has been a good day for the Sit Go Ford Thunderbird. Eddie Lynn and all the Wood brothers and Danny Glad, they've just given me a great car there. We're befumbled as to why it didn't qualify too well. If you can be that, I don't know what that means, that word. But
that's confused at Talladega if you look it up in the dictionary, befumbled.
But it's running good now, and we feel like we can be a factor before it's over. It's the Sit Go Ford Thunderbird is that strong.
Do you get some help? I mean, who's been working with you out there? I know some of the people have teammates. They got the 88 and the 28. The Roush cars have teammates. The Hendrick cars. Who helps Michael?
Well, Mark worked real good with me. He and I worked well together. We, had to bail out on each other a time or two, but all in all, it worked real well. Now he's tore up. But those two cars behind me, the Richard Petty car driven by Bobby Hamilton and the Dino the Dinosaur Machine, man, they make my car go. And they, in return, like the way their car feels behind mine. So I think I got me some help there. And I feel like that, just then we had a shot at them. We could have run at them and made the finish real fun. So I think that'll be the case. I'd like to say hi to Mom and Pa back in Owensboro and Caitlin back in North Carolina.
You need to come work qualifying more often on Friday. You have pretty good luck on Sunday.
I was a little confused about that deal. I thought you had, Benny being involved. There'd be hors d'oeuvres and sweets and so forth. No food, not much of anything. So you'll have to talk to me about that.
Well, Benny got sick, so we shipped the shrimp home.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on there. I enjoyed it.
Michael Waltrip running 5th here at Talladega and thinks he may have a shot at it. His car awfully strong here, at least through this part of the race.
Bill Weber is with Jeff Purvis, another driver involved in the crash.
And standing here with Jeff Purvis, your car doesn't look too bad.
I wish this was a car we was racing this, and this is our backup car. Well, they had a bad wreck out there, didn't they? I really hate that hate we ended up in this situation. This MCA's, come on board and help sponsor this car with David Lee Murphy, and it's just a bad day.
Yeah, what did you see out there, Jeff? What happened?
I'd rather not even comment on it, to be honest with you. It's just they should have been a little bit more give and take out there, I believe.
Okay, that's Jeff Purvis, and he's finished for today.
And I think one thing we are hearing, nobody is laying blame on anybody else. It was just an accident that can happen at Talladega when you are running so fast.
Like Jeff Gordon and Mark Martin said, right. You see a hole and you go for it. And, once contact is made, when you're in that big pack of cars, big things happen.
There's the work that is being done on the catch fence in turn number 1, where Ricky Craven's car flew into it. We'll take a break and be back with more in just a moment.
Hi again, everybody. Brett Haber back in the ESPN studios. The red flag still in effect at Talladega. We'll get you back there as soon as possible. A very frightening event involving Ricky Craven at that race. Another frightening event at the IndyCar race in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, involving Paul Tracy. As we take a look at that, a crash involving a pit crew. Tracy in the number 3 car pulling into the pits. He locked up his tires on the way in and collided with his crew member, Matt Johnson. Johnson looked to be seriously injured. Indeed, he was not. A twisted left knee. Very, very fortunate. Tracy was in first place at that point. He was black flagged for dangerous driving. Michael Andretti, as you see, taking the checkered flag. Andretti won this race back in 1987, the inaugural year. He is, of course, a Nazareth, Pennsylvania native. Other racing action this Sunday. F1, the Grand Prix of Europe. Start of the race, Damon Hill looking to be only the 4th F1 driver in history to win 5 straight F1 races, but the pole sitter gets a poor start and drops back early. Bumps tires with Pedro Denis briefly going off the track. He falls back to 10th. Meanwhile, the rest of the race coming down to Michael Schumacher and Jacques Villeneuve. In the end, it is Villeneuve, the former Indy 500 champion, crossing the finish line ahead of Schumacher. Villeneuve, first Formula One victory since coming over to this circuit. He is the Canadian native, first Canadian to win a Grand Prix event since his dad, Gilles Villeneuve, back in '81, still trailing Damon Hill, the points leader, by 11 points. Much more on this race, much more on the IndyCar race, and the race you're watching coming up tonight on RPM tonight. Kenny Mayne will be your host. Don't miss it at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. The NBA playoffs, of course, are underway. Game 2 between Detroit and Orlando. Doug Collins trying to get his young team into the game, but they were not listening. Hardaway, no good, but there is Shaq. Johnny on the spot with a follow. Orlando up 7 points early, but the Pistons not about to give up. Second half action. Otis Thorpe one-on-one with Horace Grant. Little hook in the lane. Pistons take a lead for the first time, 48-47, but Orlando pulling away in the fourth. Have we seen these two guys before? Penny, Shaq, 8 assists for Penny in the game. The final, 92-77 for the Magic. Shaq, game high 29, 13 of 19 from the field. They lead the series 2-0. And the Spurs and Suns, they are at halftime of their game. David Robinson, 20 at halftime, 10 rebounds in the first quarter. That game, the second, Spurs up in the series 1-0. And more NBA action ahead on ESPN Radio tonight, or this afternoon if you prefer, 5:07 Eastern Time. The Heat and Bulls game 2 there. The Bulls up 1-0 in that series. We invite you to check your local listings for the station, Shrewd Station, in your area. And coming up tonight on ESPN, plenty more ahead. There is golf. The seniors in Las Vegas for the Senior Classic. Tommy Aaron, Bob Charles came in with the lead going into the final round. Then Linda Cohn has SportsCenter at 7 p.m., an abbreviated version. And then, of course, baseball tonight at 7:20. All the highlights ahead. Don't miss that. Then at 8 o'clock, our Sunday night game of the week, the Braves and Cards. Tom Glavine scheduled to go. 8 Eastern Time is start time there. Right now, let's get you back to Talladega and Bob Jenkins.
Once again, the helicopter flies over the racetrack, airlifting an injured driver to Birmingham. This is Ricky Craven that's in this one. John Kernan has an update on his condition.
Well, Bob, we told you a little bit earlier that Ricky was alert and speaking. He has been taken to the Caraway Medical Center in Birmingham for further evaluation. Ricky complaining of back pain, but the good news is, hey, he can complain about that back pain. So they've taken him on the helicopter, taken him to Caraway Medical Center for further evaluation. Now let's go to Dr. Jerry Punch, who's with Sterling Marlin.
Amazing when these guys get out of the race cars, the first thought to their fellow drivers. The first thing Sterling asked me was, number one, how's Bill Elliott? Number two, how's Ricky Craven? And both have been taken. That helicopter a moment ago, Sterling, was Craven, but he's been awake and alert. Now about the good news. Your race, I mean, as Ned Jarrett put it, you went to the back to the front one time and then did it again. It's to prove you could do it again.
Well, we had started the race, and the car run hot and had to stop and pull some tape off and cool it down. And I was kind of worried, and the car was really running good. And the second time, we just took a gamble because if the race had went green, we couldn't have made it. And come in, got some tires and got some fuel, and we could have made it on one more stop. So looks like we're going to have to do it again. They we're on a window here for fuel mileage, and we're going to have to probably come back in and top it off to make it. So we'll have to see if we do it again.
Now, your car owner, Larry McClure, and some others have been lobbying with NASCAR to let you run 2 or 3 laps under caution, then let you come in and top it off. That way everyone could make it the rest of the way. If they don't do that, you and a few others are going to come up, 2 or 3 laps short.
Yeah, you are. So, we don't want to see a boring race, and, especially come down on a fuel mileage deal. And I think about maybe 3 cars can make it, and a lot of the rest of us got to stop. So we'll do what we got to do. And the draft's working good here, and our car's working good, so we'll just try to do what we got to do and get back to the front.
Let me quickly to show you what not to have happen at Talladega, folks. This was our track fact a little bit ago. This is the piston that came out of this guy's car at Daytona. See the scorched inside? That's a burned piston. Hey, that's wrong. Don't do that.
Don't need to do it no more.
All right, Sterling Marlin busy. Let's go back up pit road where Bill Weber standing by with Terry Labonte.
And Terry just got a drink and stands here. You're having a pretty good run. You're 7th right now.
Well, not bad. Our Kellogg Chevy's been running pretty good for us all day. We've been close to the front all day. It's,
you can see it from there.
We can see the front anyway, yeah. So hopefully we can, go back out there and go caution-free the rest of the day and have a good finish.
You make it to the finish?
After we come in and top off, we can.
Yeah. Obviously, some of these guys are going to fall out now, but a lot of close racing out there.
Well, it's typical restrictor plate racing. It's awful close. The cars are so even, and it just takes one mistake and takes a lot of innocent people out with it.
Okay, that's Terry Labonte. He'll restart 7th, and they'll come in and get some fuel. And John is with Mike Wallace.
Well, Mike, kind of surveying the damage. You're okay, right? But the car's torn up pretty bad.
Well, it is tore up pretty bad, John. We didn't have a great day going anyway, but we were up there trying to outgas them, hopefully, if it was going to continue to go green for a long time and get back on the lead lap. And, those guys all wrecked up in front of us. And I just seen to smoke instantly, so I got slowed down. Knew Rusty was behind me, so I thought I got turned to the bottom of the racetrack and thought I'd missed the whole wreck. Matter of fact, I did miss the whole wreck, unfortunately. But when the car got in the grass, it turned back around and got up the racetrack and hit the left side. I can't figure out how these cars can go up the racetrack so hard, from being on the bottom. But it's a shame. It's, unfortunately, I hate to see it for Rusty. He was behind us there, and he'd led this race, and I thought his voodoos of this place were over with. But I guess he got all gathered back up, and I just hope everybody's okay out of it. I know some guys took some hard hits there, and everybody was pretty concerned about Ricky Craven, so I guess he must have got the worst of it. So.
Yeah, I can tell you, Ricky, they've taken him to Caraway in Birmingham, and he's complaining of back pain, but he was alert.
Yeah, from what I understand, he must have took a hell of a ride because the whole thing in the care center, everybody's wanting to know how he was, and all his crew looked pretty shook up about it. So hopefully he'll be fine. Ricky get back, and Bill, I guess, got hurt in that earlier wreck, and hopefully he'll be fine too. And we'll all go to Sears Point and try it again.
Well, Mike Wallace is sitting here in the garage area. They were working on his car, and they will try and get out to run some laps to finish this race, Bob.
Other drivers have gathered around to talk with each other about how they're doing on this particular day. There's Jeremy Mayfield on the left and Kenny Wallace with his back to you.
Jeremy Mayfield is 29 laps down as a result of problems earlier. Sort of an innocent spin out by him, but he lost a lot of time from it.
This catch fence up in turn number 1 was put here after Jimmy Horton went out of the ballpark in the July race in 1993, and they are having to do some welding up there, so it's going to be a while longer before we go back to green flag racing. And we will show you once again why we are under this red flag and what caused the damage in turn number 1. Several cars involved. The flipping car belongs to Ricky Craven, but the report is that he is awake and alert, although on his way to Caraway in Birmingham. We'll be right back. Back at Talladega, where the Winston Select 500 is under a red flag because of a crash. Down in turn number 1, and they're working on the catch fence. 3 posts, we understand, were sheared off, and they're having to weld those back before we can go back to racing. But there's no doubt that those posts did their job, Ned.
Yeah, I think they did. You mentioned it was put up after Jimmy Horton went out of the ballpark here a couple of years ago, and I think that it kept Ricky Craven inside this time.
Let's go down to Bill Weber. Looks like a lot of drivers are taking it easy right now.
Relaxing while they can, and we'll start over here with Dale Earnhardt, who's had a great car today and has gotten to the front. You're third right now. How is your ride?
Well, we're in good shape now. First, we had to do a lot of adjustment. We had to unhook the bar. I was really loose, so we got that fixed, and we're pretty good shape now. We race with them now.
A challenge to come through the field, Dale. You started 16.
Yeah, and then I was at the back of that mess after the bar got loose. The car got loose. We took the bar off, so we've been to the back and to the front a couple times, so it's just going to have to take a good partner to get back to the front or to win, I think. So me and Mike was just sitting here talking about how it was to draft back and forth, how you be up front and then somebody here come a crowd with drafting by you. So you got to have somebody to work with.
So you may be doing some bargaining here, looking for some partners?
Nah. He eats too much on vacation when we go on vacation.
Okay, well, Dale Earnhardt's third, and over here is Mike Skinner, who we talked to earlier today and said he wanted to log a lot of laps and run with some of the guys that have been around for a long time, and that's worked out for you today. You're not on the lead lap now, but you have run with some of the guys that you respect in this series.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of real good seat time today, Bill, and we had an unfortunate situation right there at the start. We had a little problem on the rear tire and lost a lap, and then the car was exceptionally loose. Dale and I both was real loose. We went to the front and then we went to the back together, and it's unfortunate for the Realtree car that we got a lap down because we've been running right around, top 10, top 12 all day. So just one of them things. We got the car a lot better right now. We left it a little bit on the conservative side. We don't have a shot to win this race now being a lap down, so we're just going to try to log some laps and be ready for them when next time we come back to Talladega.
There's one place you really don't want to be here, and that's when there are two lines of traffic and you're the guy in the middle of it, and you've been in there a little bit today.
I'll tell you what, I don't think there's a car out there that's worked with me today. Johnny Benson worked with me a little bit, and Dale worked with me, and I worked with him a little bit, but when you're a rookie out here the first time, it's like you got a bad disease. Every time I try to go somewhere, I'll make a run, I'll jump down there, and they'll jump down there with me, and then they'll jump back in and leave me hung out. But it seems like all I've been able to do is help other people get spots today. But, you got to gain respect in this division and on these super speedways. We're going awfully fast here, and that's what we're trying to do today, gain a little respect and keep the fenders on the Realtree Chevrolet and come back next time and try to win this thing.
That's Mike Skinner. Now let's go to Jerry Punch. He's holding a team meeting, I think, over there.
Well, we're talking to a couple of guys that are in the top 15. Ted Musgrave currently runs ninth, trying to get his fifth top 10 of the year. Ted, pretty good year for the Family Channel car, but this mess started right beside you. You were lucky to miss out.
Yeah, I guess the 37 and the 6 kind of got together right after the tri-oval, and it made the 6 car wiggle pretty good, so he probably backed off a second, and the 24 was right behind, and it's Talladega, everybody's really tight here, so, it just started a chain reaction, but like I say, when I looked in the mirror, there was just a lot of cars flipping and flying. I'm glad everybody's all right.
This car you're running today, I was told, Howard told me you had not sat in this car until Friday morning. It was a car no one really had run. It had been a test car last year, so considering what you qualified with and where you're running, that's a pretty good effort.
Well, that's true. I've never ever driven this car, never sat in it. It's been tested by both of our other teams, so I wanted to just try it out today because they said it was a pretty decent car, but neither one of them wanted it, so it's running pretty good. Like I say, if I can get a good race in here and get another top 10 and go home and see Debbie and the kids again.
Well, he's modest. What happened? The other two teams said this car isn't going to run. It isn't good at Talladega. Let's give it to Musgrave. What does this guy do? He goes and out-qualifies the other two guys, and right now is outrunning them. So, hey, a nice run for Ted Musgrave. Let's go over here to Rick Mast, who's chatting with someone. Rick, okay. Rick, his Hooters Pontiac running 13th. And, Rick, you were already in one shot today. You got a little tag from behind out there when Marcus slowed up. What happened?
Yeah, I don't know. Somebody slowed up in front of Dave, and I checked up, and somebody got me in the back, and we hit Dave and turned him around. But, I got through that deal, and Bill's deal was right in my mirror. I seen him go flying by the mirror about 200 miles an hour. And this deal here, we broke a jack on the last stop, I guess, and I lost the draft because we had a bad stop. And I seen all that happening going in the first turn. The time I got slowed down, I got there. Ricky had his net down, his arm hanging out the window. I said, well, there's a piece of somebody's race car, and there's the other piece of it. I said, well, there's Ricky. He's okay. So I hope everybody's okay in that deal. I'm sure they are.
Well, you've had some luck, though. I mean, when the race first started, you cut a tire and came down, and that first caution was a break for you.
It was. The race started, it was going good, and all of a sudden it got real loose. I said, man, have we missed the chassis again? And they had the caution. I come in the pits, we had a right rear flat. So we're real lucky on that. I've come from the back twice today. We come in the pits, we broke a jack once, we broke an air wrench once, and I've had to go to the back. And I've got a pretty good race car. I think if I could ever get to the front, I think I'd be in good shape, but we'll see.
13 spots away with what's happened to this guy today. Maybe his luck is changing. Finally, the kid from Rockbridge, Bath, Virginia, may have a good finish. Currently, he sits 13th, Bob.
All right, thank you, Jerry. The huge crowd that gathered here to watch this race has not left. They're all staying here for the remaining 55 laps of this Winston Select 500. Welcome back to Talladega. Let's update you on what is happening right now. First of all, they're fixing the catch fence down in turn number 1 because of the accident. And we understand it's going to be about 10 more minutes before we can refire the cars. The accident involved several, including Jeff Gordon and Ernie Irvin and Rusty Wallace and several other top contenders. There's a list. And the red flag came out to repair the fence. Now, the good news is that apparently no driver has been seriously injured. Ricky Craven has been airlifted to Caraway Medical Center in Birmingham for further observation, complaining of a sore back and an injury to the arm. Now, the red flag came out. Cars parked on the tri-oval here, and the driver is allowed to come out of the car so they can cool off, but they cannot work on the cars. Let's talk to a few more of the drivers that are still in this race. John Kernan standing by with Kenny Wallace.
Well, earlier in the race, we saw Kenny Wallace stretching things out and leading the race. And they had a lug nut jam and an air wrench, put you a little bit behind. But once we get this thing going again, how do you guys sit?
Well, we got a good car. I guess it's just I've been taught to put numbers on the board, and I've been sitting running around there at the tail end of the lead pack, and I've been watching guys fighting it out for 20th and 25th. And told the guys, I said, I can get up there and mix it up with them, but we might get in the crash. Just joking, because usually there's the big crash every year. And, man, thank God, thank the Lord we played the race like we did, because it happened, and I hate it for everybody that, they got in this crash. But it's Talladega.
Now, you came in on pit road and topped off with fuel, and there's, 58 laps to go. Is that a little bit of strategy? I mean, before the red flag came out?
Well, there is, because it's a situation where some cars, can run better with the cars. We stretched it, and we run with the 31 car, and the times were pretty good at that time before he fell out. So, I mean, it's the old Harry Gant deal, or the Bobby Labonte, would stretch that gas mileage and try to win one of these races without tearing your race car up so we can go to Daytona. These cars are so vital now, you got to have 2 special race cars. So, we got a lot of racing to go yet, and hopefully everything can turn out okay.
Now, the accident happened in front of you. What goes through your mind as you try to slow down and dodge things?
Well, it's not nothing to make light of. It's a bad situation, and every driver's meeting we try to prevent it. But NASCAR has just done the ultimate race job at, bumper to bumper. I mean, we can't get away from each other. The only way to get away from each other is let off the gas and follow. So coming down the straightaway there and had Kyle Petty right behind me and seeing the smoke, I mean, a little bit in front of me. And Kyle is a good racer. He's got a lot of experience. Waved my hand. I pulled out left so he wouldn't get into me. I jammed on the brakes, slid the tires all the way into turn 1. He went flying past me. When the smoke cleared, we both made it, but I guess the most frightening thing was seeing Ricky Craven. I seen every bit of it. And then to come back around and seeing his car so bad, and he just kind of flipped over in there, but he's okay, and everything's all right now.
All right, that's Kenny Wallace.
Kenny Wallace will be among those restarting in a few minutes. Now, what we're going to do in order to keep things a little bit more on track as far as our schedule on ESPN is concerned, we're going to let you see the first segment, at least the first segment, of Shop Talk with Alan Bestwick and the special guest Dale Earnhardt. We're going to do that right now, and we will be here when we get a resumption of the race. So you won't miss anything, but right now let's go to Shop Talk. Alan Bestwick and Dale Earnhardt. We are back at Talladega live in the Winston Select 500, still under a red flag, but the drivers have been ordered back to their cars, so it shouldn't be too long before we go back to green. Now, there is the repair that has been made to the catch fencing up in turn number 1 that Ricky Craven hit when involved in a multi-car accident in that area of the racetrack. The track crews are now on the rest of the tri-oval cleaning it so that we can get back to high-speed racing. So we are not yet ready to go back to green, but we will come back when the green flag drops. In the meantime, we're going to send you back for another segment of Shop Talk featuring Alan Bestwick and Dale Earnhardt. All right, and then there was also a bad crash, even worse than that, down in turn number 1. This involves several cars. There's Ricky Craven turning over and over into the catch fence. That's why we went red. Jumped over about 5 cars, flipping down the banking. And Ricky Craven has also been airlifted to Caraway Medical Center, but he was reported to be awake and alert, so possibly no serious injury to Ricky Craven. All right, we're going to take one more break before the green flag comes out here at Talladega as we resume our coverage of the Winston Select 500.